And we're live. Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to She Built It Boss Lady Chronicles. I am Sharita Gaskins-Tillett. I am your host. And this is the show where we feature the amazing stories of women who are owning their power to transform their lives. And I am so excited about tonight's guest. I cannot wait to tell you all about her. If you are watching us live, please say hi in the comments. Put your questions in the comments because this show is for you. You have access to our experts who are joining me. If you have questions about what they do, how they do it, where they are, any of those things, please put them in the comments. I'm happy to pass them along. If you are watching the replay, hashtag replay, still put your questions in the comments and I'm happy to pass those on as well. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and share. Sharing is caring. If you know somebody who is interested in doing what our guest is doing or any of the other things that we talk about here, please share the channel. So I am going to introduce our guest. So joining me tonight, Aisha Jorge Massengill. She is the founder and principal attorney of Sedgwick Andrews Legal and Consulting LLC. The firm's mission is to provide sophisticated, high-quality legal services to small and mid-sized businesses that are unable to hire in-house counsel on a full-time basis, as well as conducting external investigations for firms or companies with potential conflicts of interest. Aisha has spent more than 2 decades strategically integrating with human resources and business executives, delivering mission critical legal advice, counseling, and investigative services. This guidance has occurred across a broad segment of industries, including retail, insurance, academia, research and development, and commercial enterprises, and includes the full life cycle of employment and contracts in the workplace. This includes serving as the Vice President of Employment Compliance and Privacy at Under Armour Inc. and Head of Employment Law at Sonos Inc. As an investigator, Aisha has extensive experience investigating matters from the administrative assistant to the C-suite. Investigation examples include investigating a chief technology officer accused of sexual harassment, conducting an investigation of a comptroller of a publicly traded company also accused of harassment, and recently investigating cultural and interpersonal concerns leveled against a marketing executive. Aisha is an adjunct professor in employment law at Morgan State University. She is a proud member of the Association of Workplace Investigators and a board member of the American Employment Law Council, the nation's premier organization of senior labor and employment attorneys practicing on the management side of employment law. Welcome, Aisha. How are you? Uh-oh. I think we might be having some.
Yay.
Oh, there you are.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
Wonderful. Are you hearing me okay? Because I feel like we
Okay.
might be having a little bit of connection issues.
I hear you.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And so, I did that
Uh-oh.
long formal introduction, but what I didn't tell you guys is
I
that
can
I
hear
have
you.
known Aisha for more years than I'm going to tell you. Because I would be telling too much of either one of our life story if I tell you how many years. But I'm very excited to have her with me. She has a lot to offer, and I can't wait to share her story. So, Aisha, I usually thank you for coming. Let's start with that. And then I usually like to start by asking about your journey. Tell me about your background and how you got from where you are to where you came from to where you are now.
Well, hopefully you can hear me
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. It's a little bit of a
and
delay.
everyone can hear me okay.
Yeah,
Can you hear me okay?
yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for having me, which is not my normal tendency, but just thrilled to be here. And that is the place that made me. That is the place that gave me my drive and my determination to that despite whatever circumstance you may have, you can do whatever you want to do. And, being, I've been 5'3" my entire life. When I wasn't grow and I never grew. So if you can imagine being this little 12 and 13-year-old girl, traveling the streets of the Bronx talking about I got next. And the looks that I would get, yo, who got next? And I'd be like, I got next. And they would like double take and I'd be like, yeah, what? And then they'd be like, can I run with you? And the importance of think plantings that I'm only realizing now about, um that was it for me. Wasn't nobody picking me up. So I had to have the who's going to help me stay, to not get booted off the court.
So, each your signal is not good.
So that's kind of the origin story is just this little girl from the Bronx. Let me I tried to switch to the better.
Yeah, let's try to get on a different connection because you keep glitching.
Okay.
Okay, that's
This
better so far.
this is the best I got,
That's better
America.
so far. Okay, so I don't want them to miss the story. I know you were telling us about the Bronx and being 5'3" and being scared of nothing and nobody. So keep going.
Wasn't scared of nothing and nobody. I'm the oldest of five. So there's just always been something in me. Uh-oh, now you're freezing a little bit on my side, but I'm really sorry about that. Just always having that fight in me, but also what I was saying was just having the foresight to be like, I may not last long on this court. So I have to make sure that I have the right people around me who are going to allow me to be successful, right? Because I'm going to
Yeah.
get one shot. I'm not a 6 foot dude. I'm a
Right.
5'3" somebody. If I don't have the right team with the right skills, my day is going to be short.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of how things started. I used to literally like travel all around the courts in the Bronx, trying to get run to play on a little bike that I actually made myself. And funny story, my sister hates when I tell this story, but like I literally we would go to these abandoned lots and get different pieces of the bike, and the only thing that I had to buy from the store was the inner tube. And I used to
Okay.
squeegee. I used to, now, like, especially you from Baltimore,
Yeah.
uh, I used to do that to make money in the summertime. But I put this beautiful bike together and I travel around the courts on my little bike. And my sister wanted to borrow, she took my bike without my permission and crashed my bike.
Oh no.
And the worst part was, come Christmas, my sister got a new bike. To this day, I don't understand
Like,
how
well,
my
wait.
dad's.
Wait a minute.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. My
Right,
sister
right.
got a bike. So I don't know. I got it. And she came in and she was all bloody. And I was just like, where's my bike?
Was your
But
bike ruined or was your bike ruined or it could be repaired?
it was ruined. It
And
was
so you didn't
ruined.
get a new bike, but she got a new bike. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You can
Anyway,
see.
parents, sometimes make decisions we don't understand.
Yeah, I'm still, as you can tell, I'm in my 50s now and I'm still not over it. But but that's kind of, that ingenuity in the Bronx is just like you got to make your own fun. You got to, watch out for yourself and make your own way in the world. And that's really just something that has driven me forever, right? It's just
Uh-huh.
making your way for yourself.
So how did you end up in law?
It's funny because I'm, recently started teaching a little at Morgan, and that had been a lifelong thing for me to teach. When I was in college, I actually thought I was going to teach. And I remember going to the Dean of Arts and Sciences to ask her for a recommendation, and she thought it was going to be to grad school so that I could teach. And
Ah,
she had
okay.
such great disappointment about the law. But I've always had this like sense of justice and what's right. Um, Although I went to law school to be a sports and entertainment lawyer. But when I finally got to law school, I was like, this is not it.
Mhm.
There were just some distasteful elements to going that path. Although I will
Okay.
say, if you're watching, if the Knicks or the Yankees want to hire me, I'm here.
You'll consider that. You will
I will
consider it.
consider that. But other than that, I was like, yeah, no. Just my sense of justice. I was like, I got to do this law thing.
Okay. And so was it something, what drew you to law instead of teaching? What was it? Just the sense of justice, or was there something else about it?
So to be honest, I have uh, several people in my family who had interactions with the legal system. And I just always felt like I wanted to understand how it worked,
Mm-hmm.
so that we could use it for our better.
Yes.
And so that was one of the things that made me say, no, um, I need to go do this and learn the system. And I think that's really in the times that we're in now, like it's just really important that we
Yes.
understand our systems and how they work for us and how they work against us. Right. And so
Absolutely.
that's how, I ended up going the law school route instead.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you back up a little bit because we skipped like the whole part of how you and I know each other, right? So Aisha and I actually met in high school, and maybe some of you guys know this about me, but probably a lot of you don't. I actually went to boarding school, where we went to boarding school, in Massachusetts. Aisha's rocking our banner behind her, Andover Phillips Academy, and so we actually met as teenagers in high school. And so I have to tell you, she was like a legend. It's still a legend, because I think you're one of the rare folks that has lettered all 12 trimesters of high school, right? Am I correct about that?
Yeah. You broke up a little bit for me, but I was the first person. Let me pause till you come back to me. Um,
I hear you fine. I don't know.
I don't know if you can. Um, the
Uh-oh. I think we may have lost you again.
Come along, internet.
Okay.
This is this is
we're
what
gonna go
happens
to
in
we're
real
gonna
in
go to
real.
another part of the house.
Yes, I'm gonna sit on top of my router, and if this
Okay.
won't fix it, then I don't know what else will.
Right, right.
But I think you were segueing into our time at Andover.
I was, and I was talking about you being one of those rare folks that lettered all 12 trimesters of high school.
Yeah, so this is a big deal. This will be in the obituary. I was the first person, male or female, in the history of Andover to earn 12 varsity letters. Many
Wow.
have done it since, but I
Uh-huh.
was
I
first.
did not know you were the first.
I
I
was the
knew you, I
first.
knew it was a small, I knew it was a small population of folks, but I didn't realize you were the first.
I was the first. So here's a little funny thing. Katie Murphy, who is what are we? I'm 88, class of 86, actually saved me because I got into a little kerfuffle with our softball coach, and she actually kicked me off the team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so there was all kinds of advocacy that had to happen with Mr. Kalkstein, our athletic director, and I
Okay.
was put back on the team, and so I was able to keep the record in play. And so,
Okay.
yeah, I had the honor of being inducted into the inaugural Hall of Honor class
Yes.
at Andover, along with George H.W. Bush and a number of other folks. And that was a big thrill for me because, from henceforth, as long as Andover is still up, if you go and check it
Right.
out, you'll see that fact about me.
It is there. It is there. So, I mean, so they're already a remarkable beginning because you tell us about humble beginnings in the Bronx and, needing to kind of piece your bike together and all of that. And from there to, very prestigious school where your name is on a board with George H.W. Bush and now an attorney. So, I know now that you were working. Tell us about your career a little bit. I know you worked in the law, and now you have started your own firm. But tell me about that process.
Sure. So when I got out of, well, first of all, I've always been an enterprising young person. So um, when in law school, it's very important your second year summer that you get a job that's hopefully going to give you an offer when you graduate. And so when I was coming out of law school, the market was awful. And I always remember the like office saying you have to be geographically flexible with your job search. I'm from New York City, as I've said, and my roommate in college was from Pittsburgh, and I had visited her a couple of times. I'm like, seems like a nice enough city. And so I actually just sent my resume to a bunch of firms in Pittsburgh. I had met this really phenomenal woman named Bernita Brooks Griggs and connected with her. And so I just started sending my resume. And this firm called me and they were like, hey, are you going to be in Pittsburgh anytime soon? I said, as a matter of fact, I'm going to be there like in a week and a half. So I interviewed and I got an offer there to work as a summer associate. I killed it. In fact, I remember the managing partner saying, every summer, there's one summer associate who's the star, and you're the star.
Oh, wow.
And so I got to be the star. So that was really awesome. And then, I had a humbling moment later because in the history of the firm, no one had ever failed the bar. Guess who failed the bar the first
Oh,
time they took
wow.
it? And
Okay.
so I had to like kind of endure that notoriety.
Sure.
And after being the star, figuring out how to get, to the other side. And I remember when I passed the bar, my big brother, Eric Cottle, took me out to an old bar in Pittsburgh called Nats. And we had a time. And so that was good. And then I started my career at this firm, and it was like an insurance defense firm. And I had taken like assignments from a lot of different areas. But people is just who I'm about. And so I didn't want to do insurance. I didn't want to do the corporate stuff. So I ended up doing the labor and employment, some what we call traditional labor, which is the union stuff, and then the employment, counseling, litigation. So did that at a firm, left that firm to follow a partner to another firm called Klett Lieber Rooney and Shorling, which the Rooney in there is the Rooney of the Steelers. So a lot of times
Okay.
people see me on Facebook and they want to give me a hard time about the fact that I root for two teams. And I always post a picture of my twins in their
Uh,
onesies. And
uh-huh.
one is in a Steeler jersey, one is a Steeler onesie, and one is in a Giants onesie. In part because I worked for the Steelers and I
Right.
actually had some really awesome cases with them. They used to do these United Way campaigns where they would actually bring Steelers in to get people to sign up. So I did that for that firm. And then my mom passed away, and at the time my baby sister was 2, but as the years went on, she was living with my sister. And fast forward, my spouse and I decided to get custody of her because my sister needed some help. And so that kind of changed. I was like, I can't work in this law firm situation no more. Like, I
Okay.
can't do it. So I went in house. And I remember interviewing with my future boss, and I was nervous because I was pregnant. So I was trying to like hide it. And then I
Mm.
revealed I was pregnant, and she was like, no worries. She was pregnant too.
Oh,
so,
okay. Good.
so,
You
so
found
that
your
worked
place.
out. That worked out. So that's kind of how I got on that path of like the in-house versus being in in the law firm setting, which is a grind, and it's hard as a young person to basically live in a library. I'll pause there to see if you want to interject because there's like a second half to the legal career.
Yeah, well, actually, I just want a point of clarification just for those of us who are not in law. I think I know what it means to be in-house versus in a firm, but just, tell us what exactly you mean by that.
Sure. So most attorneys, when they graduate law school, they come out and they work for a law firm, and the law firm is your external partner. They have clients, but they don't work for the company. An in-house attorney actually works full time for the particular company, because after a while, when you're big enough and you have consistent legal needs, it just makes more sense to bring that
Sure.
talent in-house, because otherwise it gets really expensive to
Hmm.
keep using the big firms all the time.
Okay. So now you were in Pittsburgh, and you end up, so you had your boys. So you have three boys,
Mm-hmm.
and then you ended up with your sister.
Well, I had my sister first.
You had your sister
Uh,
first.
yeah, I
Okay.
had my sister first, and she was 10, and she lived with us until we dropped her off on the steps of Spelman. So till she was 18. But at that point, some point along the way, my boys came along. And so
Uh-huh.
I have three boys, and who now are young men, but they'll always be boys to me. So
So
um,
so tell me, what was that like? Because that sounds, if my math is right, that's four kids and a law career. So that's
really,
that's a lot.
so
That's a
it
lot
was
going
six.
on.
It was six, because I have
Six.
two beautiful, wonderful stepdaughters.
Ah,
So
okay, all
the
right. So
girls, the girls were older. So the girls are sister. They're like sisters. My baby sister and my stepdaughters were raised like sisters. So we
okay.
we used to have a Suburban, and there we would be rolling like 6, 7, 8 deep with the girls and the boys. So yeah, it was a time. It was a time, like navigating blended family. My sister's transition from New York City to the quiet suburbs of Pittsburgh. Dealing with girls who are beautiful. I know your daughter is beautiful, but them girls can be diabolical. Boys, boys are just more straightforward with their mess. They're just more straightforward
Yes.
with their mess. Girls are diabolical, and we can laugh about it now, but it wasn't funny when they were
Yeah.
teenagers,
Yeah.
scheming and being places that they weren't supposed to be and all of that stuff. So yeah, it was a time, raising teenage girls and then little fellas. The girls eventually went on to do great things, and then we had the three boys who are now in their 20s.
Wow. That's a lot. And so
Yeah.
tell me what you did career wise during that point. Did you just kind of coast where you were, or were you still kind of on the climb, or how did you
So
navigate that?
that was part of my decision to leave the law firm and go in house. One of the things about law is that you have to do something called billable hours, and so every task you take on, you
Sure.
bill in tenths of, 6/10 of an hour, and there's just a lot of pressure. It's a really inefficient way to practice, which is why I've chosen to practice the way I do now.
Okay.
But I just couldn't do it, like nights and weekends, and they just want all of you.
Sure.
And the pay is wonderful, but there's a cost
Yes.
associated with that pay. So when my sister came, I was like, the whole point of her coming was to give her a better lifestyle. You know, it simply couldn't be done with me working in a law firm. And so
Right.
that's why I
Right.
went to work for Chubb Insurance, and did that for a long time. I was actually there for 10 years. And then I always joke that when my boys stopped having use for me, I was like, yeah, I want to go back to practicing law, that in a way that invigorates me. So I would say I did challenging work, but definitely from a lifestyle perspective, it was much better
Mhm.
working for companies than trying to do the law firm.
Right, but I think it's important to note that you gave yourself permission to do that, because I think a lot of people, will box themselves in and say, well, this is the path I'm on, and this is what I have. You recognize that you had a different need and a different priority for that season, but it was a season, right? And so
Hmm.
then you also gave yourself permission to get back to the things that ignited you. So tell us what came next.
So let's see. We were at Chubb. This I had started applying to companies. I started working for a company in Bowie, which was initially called MedAssurance, but it's now called Inovalon because they had some litigation over their name. And I went to work for them. And I always say that that was like a critical time in my career, because ultimately I ended up being dual hatted as the head of HR and reporting to the VP of operations and also employment counsel. And why that was so important was because sometimes lawyers, we like to give these like textbook, well, the statute says that this is what the regulations say. And don't no HR person want to hear that when they are trying to navigate through a difficult situation.
Right.
So it was really like a critical point of how do you really advise the boots on the ground, right, when they are faced with a challenge. So it was a tough environment for me. I didn't enjoy the company quite as much, but in terms of growth, it was tremendous. And one of the things I always tell my boys is that growth and comfort cannot occupy the same space. Like if
Yes.
you want to grow, you're going to be
Yes.
uncomfortable. So, and so I did that, and I'm forever grateful for that experience of growth and learning. And my boss was a fantastic advocate, but I needed to go and do different things. So I ended up going to the applied physics lab. I was also, going through some changes from, family situation. And so it's perfect for me because the APL is like more quiet. It's where all the scientists and engineers hang out. But hopefully anybody who's out there watching is getting a sense of like, that's not my personality. I can't sustain that. I was like, I feel like these are Agent Smiths in the Matrix and they're making me turn into like this really weird person. And I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't do this. And so I've always been really good at networking. And I was at this event. I met this woman who was the head of employment at Under Armour. And I was just like, hey, I love talking shop. Maybe we can connect. And we had lunch. And by the time we had our second lunch, she said, you know what? We have a job that's coming online. We haven't even talked about it. We were thinking about someone junior, but now that I've met you, I think we want someone more senior. And so that basically they reconstructed the whole job description and requisition for someone senior. And so I ended up going to Under Armour, and I was there for 7 years. And I thought like, man, this is it. This is the job. Because I remember I actually ran into one of our fellow alums, and I was just like, man, I don't think APL is my forever job. I was like, this is not my forever job. When I got to Under Armour, I was like, this is it. I'm a sports head. I'm a Yankee fan. The first year I was there, Aaron Judge of the Yankees had won the home run derby, and he was on the landing page when I got to work that day. And I was just like, this is it. I met Mr. T just randomly in the hallway because he was in the hallway of one of our buildings. I'm just like, you have to remember, like, most days is pretty cool working there.
Yes.
But I got to a point of dis-ease, and I just was like, if you think of the legs of a stool, if you're ever sitting in a stool or at a table where something's unsteady and you try to steady yourself, right, to try to keep it from rocking, and you lean to one side. And I was just like, if one leg is the health of the business, the other leg is like what the company's perspective is on key issues. And at the time, the Harvard decision had just come down, right? That's turned us all upside down right now. Other factors, I was just like, I can't get steady. I cannot get steady.
Okay.
And so I was like, it's time for me to go. And it's time for me to make space for other people and other things. And I was really surprised because I was like, this is my job. This is my place.
Yeah.
But I was like, I was in a state of dis-ease, and I'm just like, I can't, this is not for me anymore. And so I left.
Okay. And so did you go straight from there to where we are now to your
No, so I
own
took a little
firm?
pit stop, right? I took a little pit stop. I
Okay.
went to this company, Sonos, based in California. They make these magnificent speakers. And I thought that it was, again, like another place where I could go be quiet for a minute. I had done so many layoffs at Under Armour. That was the other thing too. I was exhausted. I was like, I am so much
Okay.
more than helping a company lay people off.
Right.
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 It was exhausting. I just was so tired of that work. I was like, I don't want to do that work no more. I want to be a part of like building something and helping
Yeah.
people learn and get better. And within 3 months of being at Sonos, they had a layoff, and I had
Oh
to
boy.
oversee that. And I know how to do it because I always say,
Sure.
for publicly traded companies, there are only so many levers that they have to pull when they experience financial difficulties. And the main one is cutting heads, letting people go, because that appeases the shareholders. That makes your financials look better. And I was just like, this is not, I was on Virginia Beach with my laptop helping answering questions a day of a riff. I was like, I cannot,
Yeah. I mean, it's
can't do that.
important. It's important that that you do work that's aligned with who you are, right? And it has to feel good.
Absolutely. And I was just like, this is not me. Um, and then, I'll pivot to Cedric Andrews, which I had already started the path, and this, hopefully your viewers will find some value in this. I had thought about starting my firm because people kept coming up to me and saying, including my co-parent, like, you ever take anything on the side? You ever take anything on the side? People were getting into
Okay.
my DMs. You ever take anything? A woman that I worked with at Under Armour was like, hey, I have a friend. He really needs some help. And at the time I was like, it's a conflict of interest. I can't do it.
True.
But I was like, do I take things on the side? I don't know. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, this would be something for me to do. And I thought I would like ease my way into it. Right. And so I formed, legally formed the firm. And I was like, do, 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 do. And a couple things happened. I realized, like, if you really want to build out your business, you have to be able to market it. You can't
Yeah.
market it in silence. So that
Right.
was one thing. And then the values of the company didn't align with mine. And so there was an incident where I was um, handling a family situation. I had to go to Texas, and I'm literally standing in the cattle call line of Southwest with my laptop in my hand, helping them through another riff. And then I had a bad meeting, and I was like, not doing this anymore. And so I
Mhm.
literally, as soon as I hung up off of that Zoom, I went into Slack and I was like, hey, can you please get me time with the GC, the general counsel? And
Mhm.
I quit. And I said, but I'll give you guys like 6 weeks notice, right? And my GC was fantastic. He was just like, I feel like this is a failure on my part. They had actually given me a retention bonus stock grant. That was a significant amount of money that
Mhm.
I would be forfeiting.
Sure.
But I was just like, I quit. And he was like, why don't you take 24 hours to think about it? I went to bed. And you being, the wife of a pastor, I woke up with the peace that surpasses all understanding. And I was like,
Yeah.
time to go. And I was just like, it's going to be what it's going to be. And so we're going to do Cedric Andrews full time. And I haven't looked back.
Perfect. So tell us about Cedric Andrews. Okay, I know the story of the name, but I want everybody else to know the story of the name. And then what do you do there?
Sure. So you heard me talk about the basketball court, and I always love getting the question about what's in a name, right? Sedgwick Housing Projects and Andrews Avenue represents the intersection of the two places that I grew up at in the Bronx. And for me, it represents my grit and determination to like take on things that I maybe shouldn't on paper be taken on, and just being able to do it in excellence most days. So um, I really struggle with like, not struggle. I didn't want to have a firm that was the law office of Aisha Jorge Massengill.
Okay.
It
Uh-huh.
felt very small to me.
Okay.
And also trying to be, forward thinking. Like one day I want to sell this thing,
Sure.
and I'm like, don't nobody want to buy the law office of
With
Aisha?
your name, right?
Yeah. And you hear my firm, and it sounds like there's some dead fellas who are like
Yes.
behind the name, and so it's always a great like opening talking point when I'm pitching to prospective clients, because they're always like, what does that name mean? And it's a great opportunity to reflect like who I am.
Yes.
It's kind of like a wink. When I remember when I went on Facebook and put the name up, like all my peoples from Sedgwick houses were like, I see what you did there, sis. I see what you did. Like they immediately got it. And like one of our Andover classmates from the Bronx, he sent me a text. He's like, all right, Jorge, I see what you did. And so that always found that very gratifying.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So now you said you serve small businesses. So what do you do? And why did you choose small businesses, and how is your firm different? Because there are some things that are a little different about it.
Yeah. So again, in the spirit of I want to be part of building something and not tearing something down.
Mm-hmm.
There is a gap, right? a larger business, they're going to go with the big muckety muck law firms, right? And I always tell this story of like, there's this fantastic lawyer, works for a big firm called King and Spalding, and he specializes in like Asia Pacific law. So whenever I'd have to talk to him, his hourly billing rate was $1,600 an hour. So I would
Wow.
always be like, "Hey, Darren, how you doing? Aisha here." Because it's like you hear the client,
Talk
boom, boom,
fast,
boom,
right?
right? So the big companies are always going to have access to those kinds of firms. But small companies who are building, they are kind of rolling the dice that they're not going to encounter a big legal issue, because they don't want to, have that recurring cost built into their books, right? And so I just saw that there was like a need, that there was a gap. I'm having to hold my iPad because I talk with my hands, and it's like doing
Ah,
everything that I can not to be able to talk with my hands.
okay.
But I could see that there was a gap, for small businesses to really have the kind of representation that lets them sustain their business. What makes me different, the other thing is, I do it on a subscription and flat fee based model. So I always am careful to say is I'm not cheap, but I give you
Right.
access in an affordable way. And to me, it's like Netflix. Like some months, we may be talking. Like I have a client right now, I swear to be talking to me like every day. They've got some problem we dealing with.
Yes.
And then we may go a time where we don't hear from each other. But I'm really focused in this part of my career on offering value. I think, when you do subscription based, that's called a value based model. And there's, some getting used to, because people, even clients are used to the billable
Right.
hour. So
Right.
it's like helping them understand, if I give them a quote for something, if it seems high to them, I'm like, the price is the price is the price,
Right.
because like
Right.
I bring nearly this year will be my 30th year practicing law. You're getting an attorney that has 30 years of experience.
Right.
And I do know how much time roughly it's going to take for me to really dig in here. And so sometimes I may do work where I'll take a loss because it takes longer, but I don't want to be, bogged down by having to bill in increments of 6/10 of an hour. Like sometimes if it takes me longer, it takes me longer. And I don't want to pass that on to, I don't want to pass any inefficiency on to a client. And I think that
Right.
that's really, really important.
But also, I think it's awesome though that small businesses have that access because you're right. I'm a small business owner. And
Mm-hmm.
so for a lot of us, we're just doing the best we can, like getting our little legal forms online and, just trying to make it work because we're just starting. We don't have the resources for, high paid attorney. But I think it's awesome that you offer this service, so hopefully you can keep some of us out of some trouble, or help us at a reasonable
Yeah.
at a
Yeah.
reasonable rate when we find ourselves in trouble. But then also, I think you also helping people with their businesses, right?
Yeah. So doing formation, like how do you get it off the ground? And also doing some trademarks. So how do you protect it? And then going into like, hey, you're hiring your first employee, like a big area of focus is that 1099 versus W-2. And like, I'm always like, everybody is not a 1099. And there's certain ways that you need to structure that, so that you don't get snatched up by the Department of Labor or the IRS, because
Right.
like that 1099 thing, the IRS wants their money. And when you 1099 someone, they're losing tax revenue. Your local areas are losing tax revenue. So it's an area of high enforcement, and you just don't want to end up there. So I really try to take businesses through like that full life cycle. So while I have deep, deep expertise in employment and sticky, employee relations situations, I really do like the, rooted to the tutor, right? Like form
Yeah.
to when we have to let someone go and, do a severance agreement, etc.
So where do you see Cedric Andrews going? Where are we going?
Man, the sky is the limit. I'm so, so excited. And in fact, I had my oldest son over here, over the weekend, because we are partnering. He has like a great project management background. And, even though he's my baby, he's 6 feet tall and like 250 pounds, but he, he was kind of telling me like, dude, you got all these great ideas, but we need a roadmap. And I'm like, that's what you're here for. And so, I'm looking forward to, not shifting to, but incorporating a one-to-many teaching model into what I
Okay.
do, which is actually going to do a click down to make it even more accessible to more people. And so I'm going to be doing a challenge at the end of November, called Make Your Business Official Challenge, where you
Oh,
can
cool.
build, brand, and bulletproof the business of your dreams in 3 days. And so it's going to be a workshop where people can come. And the one thing I will say to folks who are watching is like, there's tons of information out there in the interwebs. And chat GPT is all the craze. Listen, I use AI to make myself more efficient in my firm, but what that information doesn't do is give you the expertise and the experience, the
Right.
life experience to apply that. So when people, get the contract, like I'm representing someone now, they have an employment contract that's become at issue. And I was like, well, where'd you get the contract? And she was like, yeah, I just got it offline. And I was like, oh my God, like that's why it's just could be a little
Right.
better. So it's worth like spending the money to work with the lawyer, even though you can pull a template. You just don't know, like, has the law been updated? Like, are there
Right.
tweaks and, strategically things that you want to consider? And so I'm super excited about, um, I know that I'll have an associate. I actually, when I was growing up, I was like, I hate sales. I don't never want to do no sales. But I actually enjoy the marketing piece now. And I see that I won't be in the day to day stuff 5 years from now, probably
Okay.
3 years from now. I'll have some people running the firm, and then I'll be, more heavily into the educational piece because I want to
Yeah.
have like a digital course that also makes it accessible for people to say, like, hey, I'm not big enough. It's just me and my partner, my husband. We're trying to put this thing together. Okay, well, I have a digital course you can access. I have a challenge that you can access until you're ready for me. And then when you're ready
Right.
for me, you'll come and be represented by the firm. So that's where I see it going. There's going to be an educational piece to it that's even more accessible to entrepreneurs and small businesses, and then people who will work with me in my firm.
Excellent. Well, you have given us so many nuggets. I mean, there's so much education in this, just in your story and the way that you have kind of lived your life. I hear vision, so like you're doing this now and you've gotten this off the ground and it's amazing. You're living in your passion, so you're helping people. You're building and not tearing down, and you're helping other people build. That's amazing. But you also
Thank
see
you.
the future, and so
Hmm.
that A, that you're building something that you want to be able to sell, and B, that you want to make it more accessible to even more people. And so I think that's just, it's beautiful that you have that vision, and that you know where you're going, because I think that's what stops a lot of us from pursuing our dreams, is that we don't even know where we're going. We know what we don't want. We know a lot of
Mm.
what we don't want, right? And what we don't like, but we have no idea what we really want. And so how did you manage to clarify that vision? Did you like take a lot of long walks? Did you just wake up one day and know? Or what did you do? What was your path to clarity?
Uh, so anyone who knows me well knows that I find these walks around a local lake in Colombia to be my sacred time. And so sometimes I struggle with like my brain just being noisy. You know, I am coming to grips with like being neurodivergent. And so on any given day, like my brain is just like pop, 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 pop with all the ideas. But when I walk the lake, I do get a lot of clarity about like, the direction of the firm, the direction for my life. But I also am a big believer in like affirmations and just being centered in who you are and getting more comfortable. So it's interesting. Like I spent a lot of time posting on LinkedIn, doing things on LinkedIn. In the beginning, I was really like self-conscious because I come from big corporate America, and I always joke like this past year, like I'm really well known, like on the national scale, like people ask me to speak and blah blah blah, but I'm like, don't nobody know me locally. And I had this like thing of, are people going to think less of me
Mm,
because I'm out here hustling and doing my little videos and everything? And then I was over it. I'm like, because I
Right.
know who I am. And, the one last story is there's a big conference called Corporate Counsel Women of Color, an amazing conference with women who work at these big companies all over the place. And I had attended that conference when I worked at little MedAssurant that nobody knew, and they would look at my badge and be like, what kind of company is that? But when I walked through that place and I had Under Armour on my badge and people would read it and like their eyes would get big. And when I knew I was leaving Under Armour, and I went to the conference, but I hadn't told anyone yet, I was like, man, what is it going to be like for
Yeah.
me to walk through here and not have that on my chest?
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm the I know
Mm-hmm.
I'm the and I'm still gonna be the whether that name is on my chest or not, because I am me. And I think that is a process that people have to come to in their own time
Yes.
and their own knowing, but you should know it. You should know it to be true. That
No, you are absolutely right.
yeah, yeah. So I say that in my different affirmations about like just being grounded in who I am. And that's not to say I don't have moments of like doubt and exhaustion, trying to wear all the hats and everything. But the beautiful thing is I have never been this free. I tell people that all the time. I ain't never been this free. I was freed. And I just can't convey enough. Like someone told me, they said, your worst day as an entrepreneur beats your best day as an employee. And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. She's right. She's right. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. Cause like if I don't feel like it, quote unquote, I'm the one that bears the brunt of not getting something done.
Right.
But the wins are mine. My time is mine. And man, is that amazing.
Wow. Well, that's a perfect note for us to end on. If people want to work with you, tell us how can they find you? And then you talked about the challenge. How can we join the challenge? Tell us all the things.
Okay, so Cedric Andrews is a really long name. Uh, but if you go to topemployermistakes.com, it's easy to remember and it gives you a nice overview of the firm and like why we're trying to help people. I'm also Cedric Andrews, Sedgwick Andrews. I'm on YouTube, I am on Instagram, and then you can find me on LinkedIn. And on Mondays, I write Kindness Mondays post because as we went into this recent political season, I wanted to not give into the darkness. And so I just write a lot of observational essays every Monday. And on Fridays, you catch me doing a Friday Legal Fix where I will answer certain legal conundrums and drop some educational jewels for free. So I'm all over the place.
Excellent. So I encourage you, especially small business owners, to connect with Aisha. Like I said, I have known her for a very, very long time. You can probably do some of that math, but like, again, we're not getting into all that. I've known her for a very long time, and I've never known her to be anything other than excellent. And so I am super excited to see where this firm will go and all of the good that you're putting out into the world, because I know it's going to come back to you, tenfold. So, congratulations on
Thank
your new
you.
endeavor. I am super proud of you and happy to know you because, as you alluded to earlier, your network it is your net worth. And so,
Hmm.
I am very happy to have you as part of my network.
Thank you so much, Sharita. I really appreciate you and love all the things that you've been doing. Leaning into how women need to care for themselves and give themselves space to think and dream and believe. So I love all the things that you're doing and appreciate you tremendously for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. So, you guys, like I said, go follow Aisha. You won't go wrong. All of her contact information will be in the comments. Again, if you are a small business owner, please like and share this episode. Subscribe to the YouTube channel because, this is the caliber of guest I have. And then also, I want you to share this with other people that you know who could use her services, or just use some inspiration. It may be they're wanting to start their own business, but they're afraid, or they're wanting to pivot in their career, but they don't know if they should, and they don't know who they're going to be if they do. So, just share the episode so that they can get a little bit of encouragement. So that's it for tonight. We will see you guys soon. Take care. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.